Hi everybody, this is a Teamer Arcane Bombardment deck that I picked up from over on the Japanese tournament scene. Not that I'm on the scene, but I picked the deck list up from there anyway. We're running 3 Arcane Bombardment, a few big score, a few burn down the house, and then down here is where it gets a little interesting. So we've got a number of 1-drops that we've seen before, a little bit of Consider, a little bit of Voltage Surge, the nice one of Tamiyo's Safekeeping. And over here we've got 4 Third Path Iconoclast, which kind of takes the role of something like a Jaya Planeswalker card would in this deck. It just sort of enables the rest of our cards to do a little bit of something extra. So every time we cast a non-creature spell, that's including Bombardment itself, we get a little 1/1 colorless artifact creature token that we can do some extra things with. Some other nice touches in here. A little Chet. Now, I haven't seen too much of this card, but it's kind of nice, and thanks to all the tokens that we create through Third Path Iconoclast and Burn Down the House, we could actually pay this casualty cost if we wanted to. Now, there's not that many green cards in here, but the few that are in here are pretty good. We've got Tear Asunder, which we can cast thanks to the 4 Xander's Lounge, along with the treasures that we create through Big Score. So it's not totally devoted to artifacts and enchantments. We can hit some other stuff with it too, which is kind of nice. We're also running 4 Brotherhood's End in here as a hedge against all the aggro that we're seeing on the ladder right now. And then we've got a nice one of Geistflame Reservoir. Now, the original deck lists I saw that kind of stuck to this general configuration for a deck in these colors, they were actually 65 cards, so I had to do a little bit of trimming, but they ran some number of Geistflame, some number of Burn Down the House, and then they have had some extra sweepers in the sideboard. So I kind of tweaked the numbers a little bit, got it down to 60, and kept what I thought was the most effective cards in the deck. So let's get over and see some of these games on the ranked standard ladder with this deck. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. All right, let's get into it here. This is a weird hand to keep, but based on what I've seen from the rest of the deck, we should be able to have pretty good odds, of drawing some early game stuff to do. And hopefully we can find it before our opponent goes too wide here. Oh, I thought this was Soldiers. This is going to be something else entirely. Opponent gets in with the 1/1. There's something we can do right on time, too. So we're at 3 mana, 2 for the Iconoclast, and we can hold up 1 for the Consider to do pretty much whenever we want. No rush on that. Opponent spends the Fateful Absence. Well, let's get a little bit of value out of this. We can block with the token it creates. Get a little something extra with our Consider here. Not to mention we get that nice clue token. So as I play more with Iconoclast, I've been kind of figuring out that, especially in decks like ours, where we lean a little more control side, it's usually best, we're going to block here, it's usually best if we save a little extra mana. We just don't play out the Iconoclast on turn 2. We want to save a little room so we can immediately do something with it, kind of like we would treat Bombardment, you know? We're going to get rid of Torrens right away. We have no Burn Down the House in hand, and that's kind of a thing that gets out of hand pretty fast if you let it. Opponent laying down a Ganjo. Oh, and we get a Pegasus on board. Nice. And replaying the Spirit from the Grave. Long time ago I tried to make Pegasus work. It seems like it should be super good, but I never quite figured it out. All right, we've got Iconoclast, and we've got mana left over to play this Make Disappear. Opponent with another Pegasus. We have to let that through. I don't believe the timing works out where we can cast Mick Disappear and then get the token out of the Iconoclast before deciding to pay the casualty cost. But let's get Bombardment down. We got the mana. We have a second copy in case they have removal for this one. And we're just going to hang back with this Iconoclast. No sense in getting in and leaving that when we could start churning out some extra tokens. We will need something to do, actually. So our next turn is going to really depend on our opponent casting a spell. We may just fire off Make Disappear just because. Send that token in for fun. Let's see what's down here. Just to consider in a voltage surge. All right, it doesn't make sense to do this second bombardment. We're not going to pull anything extra up. We don't have a good rate of return on that one. So hopefully we can just make disappear something. Oh, perfect. Rabble rousing. Excellent. We don't have to sacrifice anything. We counter probably the biggest thing they've played so far. And we pick up a free consider and start refueling the hand. Get this Brotherhood's End just in time. So we're at 6. We're probably going to have to run all these folks into attack. Imagine they block Iconoclast here. Yep. All right. And finally, Brotherhood's End. Opponent with 1 card left in hand. I am hopeful that we'll be able to close it out from here. We just need something to kind of speed up that process. Our spell enabler is in the graveyard. 2 copies of it, in fact. So we're going to need some burn or some burn down the house to make its way under bombardment. All right, opponent disturbing something. I think we're going to consider here. Let's see what comes up. Yeah, pick up Brotherhood's End. That's a good one to have under there. Especially when we know our opponent is mostly kind of token go wide based. And a little chat. All right. I loved seeing this in there. This card really went nowhere after New Capenna came out, and I love to see people using it. All right, well, what we can do is Dryad's Revival on one of these Iconoclasts. Activates Bombardment, so we'll get a couple of things out of that, but this Iconoclast is going to act as our finisher. Little scrying, little surveilling. Oh, we get Geistflame. Well, that'll be a backup plan. Iconoclast plays so well with Bombardment when we have multiple things under it because it triggers each time something gets cast out from under it. Let's have a little chat. All right. 2 considers for sure. Unfortunately, not many targets for the other stuff, so let's just get this going. Burn down the house is perfect. Start making some devils. A little chat. We'll just take a land. Excellent. Land. Let's see. How much do we got? We could probably lay this Geistflame first. Just to start getting triggers from all these spells. Burn down the house, and we've got 1 left over for our opponent's turn to play the Safekeeping with. And we get our Revival back, too. So we'll get the second Iconoclast as a kind of plan C. And I don't think there's any use for these other ones. We'll pick up that Surge, though. A little chat. It's nice to have another instant that gets us cards. Make some tokens. Get in for a little bit of damage. And opponent with an Aganjo on the Iconoclast, but the damage has kind of already been done, and we've got a recurring way to get the Iconoclast back. Let's discard a land. Probably don't need another Brotherhood's End, but it's kind of 50-50. Don't really need it picked up in the bombardment, but don't really need it in the hand either. Well, that's Safekeeping. Activates our Reservoir, activates Bombardment. We pick up Burn Down the House. Just a festival of tokens over here. This is probably going to be a little too much to deal with. put a lot of counters on the reservoir. Tear Asunder, a nice pickup from the top. These considers don't matter a whole lot. We've got plenty to do. Gain a little life, so we're back up to 8. And let's get in. Just enough to finish it off. Good game. Alright, this looks keepable. We actually got 3 lands here, all of our colors, a nice Iconoclast to start off with, and consider to help us look for Arcane Bombardment. Kind of been enjoying this Arcane Bombardment teamer list that I picked up from the Japanese tournament scene. There are a couple of lists like this. Interestingly, both 65 cards, so kind of had to make some choices as to what to trim down. We can Iconoclast here. We've got 1 left over. We can squeeze a token out of it. Well, if it hits the board. Good old mono blue. Okay, well, if it's what I think it is, not many other decks play that many counters. The plan for us is to try and create an opportunity where we can get Arcane Bombardment down on the board. Blue is not able to deal with that outside of Otawara, the Soaring City, at least in these decks. So the only other bounce they play is, I think, Fading Hope. Everything else is counters and ways to protect their creatures. So if we can land Bombardment, we can endlessly reuse our spells. If we can do that before they start getting in really heavy hits with the Djinn, we should be okay. But right now it's just going to be a game of trying to get some things down, baiting out these cheap spells as they go searching for Djinn and Tolarian Terror. Iconoclast actually really nice in this role. So in some of my other decks, we'd be doing 4-mana Planeswalkers, but this little tiny threat plays so well with our cheap spells that it's kind of a must answer. Alright, opponent with a Djinn. Brickwall's the Iconoclast itself, but we can kind of build up a board and maybe eventually go around it. Now, we don't have enough to take care of the Djinn yet, but the Iconoclast makes artifact tokens, so Voltage Surge could be an option. This will likely get countered, but we have a second one. And it draws out the negate. Okay. Terrible thing about the Djinn is it makes the negate 1 mana once it's on the board. Opponent impulsing, likely looking for another hard counter now that they kind of know what we're up to. But we've got this second Bombardment on the board, so I think if we can get the mana, I would love to be able to Voltage Surge, sacrificing an artifact. So for 4 damage, onto that Djinn, and then follow it up with our second Bombardment. We really want to bait out like their best counter if we can. We're not left with a whole lot of good options, so let's get in, see if they want to spend some mana on like a Fading Hope here. Just trying to make them exhaust all of their resources before we get to our really important stuff. All right, we've got the artifact. Let's try this. We'll replace it instantly. Okay, good. I don't know how many negates the opponent runs in this kind of deck, but now let's try this. Hopefully we've cleared out the way just enough to get this Bombardment through. It lands. That's beautiful. All right, so now all we've got to do is start dealing with the opponent's board, activating Bombardment as much as we can, and just trying to outvalue our opponent before they can hit us too many times with the Haughty Djinn. All right, we could double Abrade something. I think we're going to hope to pick up some extra burn out of our graveyard and see if we can just finish one of these creatures off. Excellent. we pick up enough to do the job. Or, tell you what, let's hit the other one. We've got an artifact to sacrifice, so that makes it 4 damage. And we've got another Abrade that we could just spend. Alright, so let that go. Let's see if this gets through. We have a Make Disappear to back it up, and I would love to be able to get rid of both of these creatures right now. Alright, slip out the back. Let's try to counter that. Don't know if we need 2 casualty. I think, yeah, they just have 1. We'll try to counter the slip out the back. Do they have another... So they make disappear, our make disappear. So the Djinn will slip out the back. There's nothing else we can do. We're down to a consider. Let's get in some damage since the Djinn is phased out. And we can consider on our opponent's turn. Maybe on their draw step to avoid them drawing another piece of interaction. We pick up make disappear. All right, well, sacrificing an artifact will not work anymore. I was really hoping to pick up an Abrade there, but that counter from slip out the back just kind of foiled us a little bit. Big oops. Tolarian Terror. Djinn gets us to 3, so we've really got to have something here. We might have to wipe our own board. Let's see. We can pick up Abrade. Consider. Yeah, we might have to do it. Well, hold on. Sorry, I got to think about this for a second. Let's go ahead and do this. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense to do pre-combat, but we kind of need to guarantee that we at least survive. So let's point some burn over there. That way, if they counter the burn down the house, we could at least chump the terror. Oh! Okay. Well, good game. Well, this is keepable. Let's get it going here. All right, we've got Xander's Lounge. That will enable our Tear Asunder for later. Very tired of facing mono blue decks on the ladder, but at least this this courier signals we could be dealing with something else. Hopefully. One of the things I don't like about facing the mono blue decks all the time is, all right, another courier. You end up in situations where the opponent just counters everything. They don't really consider what they're countering. So what ends up happening is each of you is left with like 2 or 3 cards, and you end up playing one of the most boring games of Magic you've ever played. And I don't know, not the greatest fan from my perspective. Opponent sacrificing the combat courier again. This is looking more and more interesting. What mono blue deck wants artifacts in the graveyard? Ah, my man Tezzeret. Well, as much as I love you, you are getting countered. Okay, I think we need to sneak this big score in right now. I do not trust a mono blue opponent to let us have a big score. It's such a great target for a counter since we have to discard in addition to paying the mana cost, so that card is lost if the spell gets countered. Opponent squeezes in a Teferi here. Makes a spirit token. Alright. Some kind of combination artifact draw setup over there. Let's get this down while they're completely tapped out, and we've got Voltage Surge to point at something here. How about Teferi? I think with this Brotherhood's End, we'll be able to handle the spirit token left over. Pick up Make Disappear. All right. Not off to a great start, but that could come in handy later as we try to counter some of our opponent's big plays. All right, opponent gets in with the Spirit. We draw another Bombardment. Let's get this land down. Try to kill the Spirit. If they can draw at instant speed, they can try to save it here. Oh, they just opt for the Urza's Rebuff. Counterspell mode activated. Let's see what Bombardment picks up here. Big score, which I think we want to cast. And too late for Make Disappear. Another Bombardment. Well, we got two of them. Really don't want this to get any bigger, and the fact that they opted to counter instead of draw to save that makes me think they don't have anything, but of course they do. Second Urza's Rebuff. I think we were wise to get that big score in earlier. So let's get this Consider in now. Brotherhood's End. Big score discarding island. Just to see if we can sneak it in before they perhaps draw another counter. Oh, okay, Spell Pierce. Well, we can pay for that. Down to one treasure. And it works. Okay. All right. Well, that... Oh, all right. Well... That was it. Good game. All right, here for another one with this Japanese Teamer Arcane Bombardment list. We've got our Tear Asunder here. We've got our black mana in Xander's Lounge, so let's get that started. Oh, mono blue again. Hooray. Well, we know what the plan is. We just have to survive the flow chart that is the mono blue deck and get up to 6 mana. Try to sneak in an Arcane Bombardment when they think they're in a good spot. Opponent considers, that's fine. That's all part of the plan. See if they've got a Delver or something. They do not. All right, well, we're up to 4. We can counter something. We can Tear Asunder something for full price. An opponent with nothing. Okay. Shaping up to be not too terrible for us. At least they're not churning through their deck right now. We will just have to watch them saving a counterspell for when we try this Bombardment here. We may... Ooh. That changes it. Let's try to draw out a counter with Devil Mode here. Okay, that's fine. It's not exiled, so we'll probably get to reuse it eventually. I mean, this is such a slow start. We may be able to get up to 8 mana and keep Make Disappear up as we cast Bombardment. Yeah, especially if we keep drawing these lands. We're at 7 now. Yeah, I mean, they're holding on to too much. Already seen some counter spells in that graveyard over there. It's risky, but it's kind of the best plan we got, and they discard a Make Disappear. Okay, so that also tells us they've got more counter spells, so we definitely need to try to get up to 8 mana here. All right, 3 mana available. All right, we get 8 mana, Arcane Bombardment. We can pay for a Make Disappear, so that's not going to do it. It has to be a hard counter. It's negate. We can Make Disappear that, because they can't pay 2. All right, and we dodged a Spell Pierce. Great. So Otawara can hit that, but really very little else in that deck can. So now you see we're kind of in panic mode. They're finally laying all these creatures down. All right. Well, Burn Down the House is down there. It's a 1 in 3 shot. And I think we can activate now if we want to do maybe Tear Asunder. Yeah, opponent check on our graveyard as well. I love that you can see the highlighting going on there. So we've got the mana. I think we want to hit one of these terrors while we've got the free mana available. Because if we pick up something targeted with bombardment in the future, like this Voltage Surge, which is not what I was looking for. If we pick up something targeted in the future, that ward cost could get in the way of casting something off of bombardment. All right, come on, consider. Let's get this Burn Down the House. Okay, we get Tear Asunder. We can't kick that, though. All right, well, let's keep the Safekeeping, I think. That will at least let us activate Bombardment. Ouch, we go to 9. Opponent with another Djinn here. Yeah, so they know as well as we do. We are in a race to pick up this Bombardment. Let's try to Safekeeping. One more shot, and maybe we can make disappear whatever their response is to this. Yeah, I think we'll just... Oh, and it just slides through? All right, well, great news for us. Opponent thirsts, so they will draw 3. We'll see what they discard here, but that's a great way to refill your hand. Another Terror, okay. We could counter, but let's see if they follow up. We'll counter whatever they do next. Yes, perfect. We'll counter the Delver, and this will let us do not Bombardment, Burn Down the House on Tolarian Terror. Nothing else makes sense at the moment, unless we want to just extra make disappear for good measure. All right, good game. Well, this is a weird one, but I think this is okay. So we've got a Japanese-style Teamer Arcane Bombardment list. Runs interesting things like Third Path Iconoclast, this Geistflame Reservoir here. I've kind of whittled it down to the cards that I really like to play, but still keep some of that flavor that that metagame ended up producing. Let's get that down right now. Yeah, I don't think we're in danger of needing to tear asunder something. Oh, Cathar Commando. That is like the bane of Arcane Bombardment decks everywhere. So we need to either bait them into using that or target it with some removal. Luckily, we've got this Brotherhood's End right on time, but we need to be watchful for other commandos in the future. Of course. Of course. Okay. I don't know if y'all run into Cathar Commando as much as I do, but it's like they see me coming. So let's Abrade that. We can't Reservoir because they can respond to whatever removal we throw at it afterwards. Doesn't make sense. Oh, an opponent with nothing, so we kept up Make Disappear for no good reason. Let's do Reservoir, and we can protect it with this Safekeeping. Oh, opponent's stuck on 2 lands. That is rough, but we'll take advantage. Let's take a look at the top. I want to keep hitting our land drops, and we've got to Make Disappear for whatever happens when they try to peel land number 3. These commandos. That's, you know, it's fine. Yeah, okay. So we could have done Make Disappear on the commando, but Tamiyo's Safekeeping we have no bombardment at the moment, so I want to try to see if we can bait him into sacrificing the commando. So there's a counter on the reservoir. We can point the reservoir at the commando next turn, and in response to their sacrifice, use this safekeeping. Keep our Brotherhood's end available for when they start dumping the rest of that hand over there. One counter for 1 damage. They sacrifice in response, and we will safekeeping the reservoir to protect it. Get another counter back. And the board is clear. And we've got Make Disappear mana. There's blue in here? Oh. Well, no. Let's put a counter on the reservoir. Let's make disappear that blue soldier. I think we just consider here. Gets a counter on the reservoir. Lets us take a peek. Big score is wonderful, so let's keep that. I'm at the point where I don't want to exile too much off the top because we can't immediately play the bombardment that we're really looking for, so... Opponent having to think. Alright. 1/1 Artifact Soldier. Nothing else. Well, it's a perfect opportunity for us to big score. Let's Tear Asunder. Or discard Tear Asunder, rather. I mean, if we keep ending up drawing spells and no bombardment, we could just go for the reservoir finish here. Oh, Iconoclast. Excellent. Great way to stand up to a deck like this. See if they finally spend some of that removal that might be clogging up their hand. Fateful Absence. Opponent, land number 4. Goes to combat, does nothing, and simply passes. Alright, well in that case, we'll take a counter off. Point the Geistflame at the soldier. Start clearing the way for some tokens, perhaps. Brotherhood's End, a little rough. Alright, let's take a look. We've got enough to cast Bombardment if we find it. Okay, well, burn down the house will do. Yeah, it's use it or lose it. So let's start making some devils. We get a free token, put a counter back on the reservoir. This seems like a solid plan until we figure out what the opponent is holding on to over there. And we're keeping back Iconoclast just because I think they might have... Oh, I guess not. I was worried they would have a Wanderer over there. I've attacked too many times into 4 open mana. Oh, an opponent scoops it up. All right. Good game.